Hello, thank you for joining us. My name is Cody Haddad. I'm the Interim Director of Development in the town of Dartmouth. I'm joined by Sean McGinnis, Town Administrator. Sean, how are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Thanks for being with me this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically what we'll be doing is going through the warrant for the fall annual town meeting. And we'll go article by article and we can just address each article. Before we get started, I just want to reiterate, town meeting will be held Tuesday, October 27th at 7 p.m. via Zoom. We'll be holding it remotely again. We held it remotely in June. And Sean, would you say that was pretty successful?
Yes, it was very successful. So we were one of, I think, 4 communities in the state to have a remote town meeting. So it's a very progressive step for Dartmouth. And it just shows the abilities and the capabilities of our staff and the town meeting representatives to make it happen. So it's exciting.
Yeah, good. I think it'll be great. And I think it'll be good for all town meeting members. So town meeting members received, along with their warrant, there was a yellow piece of paper, and that's the instructions on how to log in via Zoom town meeting. The portal will open at 5:30, and that will allow town meeting members to log in. And once they're logged in via Zoom, you can go and do as you please, and then come back at 7 p.m. When the actual town meeting will start.
Yeah. So if I could just stress on that, Cody. So it takes some time to log in. So for the town meeting reps, the sooner they can log in, the better. It'd be more helpful. We can get the meeting started sooner. So I encourage people to log in as early as 5:30 and hang tight and just wait until the 7 p.m. start.
Great. Yeah, I think that'll be excellent. So it seems to be a somewhat short warrant this town meeting, 10 articles. So let's start with Article 1, and it seems to be a common article from Community Preservation Committee, and it's just an appropriation to Historic Preservation Reserve in the amount of $5,000. Is there any more to add to that, Sean?
No, this is a general housekeeping article for the Community Preservation Committee. They're required to keep their funding levels at a certain percentage. So this gives them the ability to contribute to those accounts so that they meet the state guidelines.
Great. And this was recommended unanimously by the Finance Committee and the Select Board.
Correct.
So Article 2, we have another Community Preservation Committee. This is to vote to appropriate $150,000 to Russell's Mills Land Conservation Project. Do you want to speak to that project, Tom?
Yes. So this article and the following article go together. This can be a little deceiving. If you read it closely, the Community Preservation Committee is committing $300,000 to the Russell's Mills Land Conservation Project. You see, there's for town meeting representatives, there's a handout in the packet that shows the parcel of land. From Community Preservation Committee, there's $150,000 from the fiscal 21 Community Preservation Annual Revenue and $150,000 from the CPA Unrestricted Reserve that are going to go to the Dartmouth Conservation Commission to help to purchase the Russell's Mills land that is shown on the attachment.
Okay, great. And this also was recommended unanimously by the Finance Committee and the Select Board, as was Article 3, which Sean said goes in correlation with Article 2. And so Article 3, it ultimately allows the town to initially borrow that money, which would then be repaid by a grant. Is that correct, Sean?
That is correct, yes. So
Okay.
it will authorize the acquisition of up to $520,000 for the parcel. DNRT is contributing a portion of that, and there's a portion of that is from a land grant as well. So $200,000 to be specific. So for, between the CPC contribution and the land grant and DNRT's contribution, that covers the purchase price of the property.
Okay, great. And that amount will only be borrowed if the grant is granted ultimately, correct?
Correct. Yeah. If the land grant is not received by the town, then the project does not move forward.
Okay, great. Article 4 is outstanding bills, and this seems to just be a housekeeping item. It's to see if the town will appropriate $25,385 from water enterprise revenue for the purpose of paying outstanding bills from the prior fiscal year. Anything
Correct.
further to elaborate on?
Nope. That's exactly what it is.
Great. Article 5, transfer from Waterways Management Enterprise Fund. So this is to see if the town will vote to appropriate a sum of $16,000 from the Waterways Management Enterprise Fund retained earnings to the reserve fund account within the general fund. And this had to do with the Seaport Economic Council feasibility study, correct?
Correct. So this was actually slated to be on the special town meeting warrant in the spring, but it was pulled off because we had some timing issues with the warrant. Special town meeting warrant needs to be posted sooner than the actual warrant. This part of the grant for the marina study that was awarded by the Seaport Economic Council was a 25% match by the town. So the total project cost is $80,000. The grant is $64,000, and the town is responsible for $16,000, which is going to come out of Waterways retained earnings, and this just authorizes that process.
Okay, great. And also, I'd like to note that the Select Board and the Finance Committee did vote to recommend that unanimously. Moving on to Article 6. So Article 6 is going to be the Capital Planning Committee report for FY21, and it's basically requesting $2,642,316 from surplus revenue and $47,625 from water enterprise retained earnings. There's a list here, and town meeting members provided with the report and a list of each breakdown item by item. Sean, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
No, I will only stipulate that the town, our finance committee, our finance staff, and myself have been working hard to control costs throughout this pandemic to prepare for some economic uncertainty that we have coming up in the next year or so. This year, we've spent the lowest on capital since I think 2013. So all of these items are really necessary. We've asked department heads to only submit requests that were absolutely necessary, and they've done that. I think they've done a good job in aligning that for this capital request.
Good. That's good to hear. So that was also voted unanimously by the Select Board and the Finance Committee. Article 7. So Article 7 has to do with a proposed amendment to the charter and has to do with the appointment of the town clerk. So as it stands currently, the town clerk is elected for a term of 3 years in Dartmouth, and this would ultimately change that to an appointed position by the Select Board. There's some pros and cons to this. One of the major issues that can be reconciled by an appointed town clerk is you have a better candidate pool. It's not limited. And in the case of a retirement or an absence, it allows for the town to move more swiftly and have an appointed town clerk. Don, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
No, I think Dartmouth was very lucky this year. We had a impromptu retirement by our town clerk over the summer. We were able to organize staff and get a new town clerk on board through a hiring process. One thing to consider is, town clerks' offices over the years have gotten more complicated and complex, and they have a variety of responsibilities outside of elections that they're responsible for. So, all those, roles and responsibilities that are put on the clerk's office require staff that are highly skilled and knowledgeable and able to manage the workload that's been required of the department. So one thing to consider, with an elected office is that an elected town clerk is that you don't always know what you're getting for experience to come into an office like that with staff, managing staff. And also, if you have an appointed position, as you mentioned, Cody, it's good to your pool widens because you're not just beholden to looking for town residents to fill the position. You're looking for the best candidate possible for the town. So there are, like you said, pros and cons, and but the select board feels at this point it's better to have an appointed town clerk rather than elected. In some of our research we've done, there are a lot of communities that have elected town clerks, but the communities that are transitioning, many are going from elected to appointed. We have not found any that are going from appointed to elected. So I think the future is really going from elected to appointed. So the select board want to reflect that in the town charter, and hence they have this article for the charter amendment.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Sean. And I think it shows maybe the direction that things are heading when a lot of towns are heading to an appointed town clerk, and you haven't seen the circumstances where they've gone from appointed to elected. So that's good to know, and I think that's good for town meeting members to have that knowledge. And this, like you said, the select board did endorse this unanimously, as did the finance committee. They endorsed this. So as far as the Article 7 goes, if town meeting does approve this article, it would then go to a townwide election in April. And if it's approved at the townwide election, then it would go into effect July 1st, 2021. In the meantime, also in April will be the election of a town clerk. So ultimately, if the town clerk that gets elected in April would be through July 1st, 2021, if town meeting in the town decides to move forward with this charter amendment. If not, things would be normal and like they were before, and the clerk would serve a 3-year term. John, do you have anything to add to that?
No, that is correct. And if people are wondering why July 1st, with any town meeting articles, once approved at town meeting, it goes to the Attorney General's office for review and final approval. So that usually takes 90 days. So that's usually we hear back by then. So if there were any issues that the Attorney General saw, they would bring it up and we could address it. So this July 1st gets us past that period and able to move forward.
Okay, great. And this was unanimously recommended by the select board and the finance committee. Moving on to Article 8. So Article 8 has to do with the lease or sale of Reed Road property. Town meeting members received a handout identifying the parcels of land being referred to here. And so Sean, basically this would give the select board authorization to potentially move forward with either the lease or sale of this land. It does not necessarily mean that they will. And yeah, do you have anything to add to that? I know it's for recreational purposes only. That's something that they would include. Any more you'd like to add?
Sure. So you were correct. The select board wishes to use these 2 parcels of property to provide some recreational services to the town. In what form they are, not sure. So what we would do is issue a request for proposals from applicants if this were to pass, where the applicants would present their plans for the property, what services and what activities they would provide with the property. And the select board would be able to make a decision based on those responses to the request for proposals to select a vendor that is in the best interest of the town to provide recreational services. So it's a 2-step process. This is the first town meeting giving the select board authority to lease or sell the property. And then if this were to pass, the select board would go through an RFP process stipulating what the use would be on the property.
Okay, great. I'd like to note that the select board voted to recommend this and 1 against this article, and the finance committee voted 9-0 to not recommend this article. Okay.
Right.
Moving on to Article 9. So Article 9 is a general bylaw amendment under Chapter 154, Buildings, Vacant, and Seasonal. Sean, do you want to describe this amendment?
Oh, sure. So this general bylaw amendment addresses, longstanding need in the community regarding vacant buildings and how they're managed. Everyone's familiar, I think, with the article on the zombie house here in town. The goal of the select board is to make sure vacant properties are maintained for the health and safety of the community. And this new bylaw would allow that, will allow the town through the zoning enforcement officer the ability to mandate that owners of vacant properties that are unkempt and dangerous to the community to take action and to remediate any issues.
Okay, great. I'd like to note that the select board voted to recommend 4 for and 1 against. The finance committee voted 7 to not recommend and 2 to recommend. So moving on to our last article, which is Article 10, and this was a citizen's petition having to do with rezoning single residence to general business. Any comments on that, Sean?
Yes, so this resident petition is supported by the planning board. The applicant wishes to change the zoning from single residence to general business in order for them to install a large-scale solar installation on the property. There's a handout in the packet that shows the parcel of land, and this vote at town meeting would allow that zoning change for them to install this solar on this parcel that they have.
Okay, great. And this was recommended unanimously by the finance committee and by the select board. So that wraps up the warrant for the 2020 fall annual town meeting, which will be held via Zoom. Again, that'll be October 27th, commencing at 7 p.m. You can log into Zoom as early as 5:30. As Mr. McGinnis reiterated early on, we prefer that you try to log in as early as possible, and that'll allow for things to move smoothly and promptly and on time, but we're looking forward to it. And thank you for joining me today, Mr. McGinnis. I think that was great, and that'll give town meeting members a good idea of what to look forward to.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thanks.
Once Zoom is installed or updated, you are all set to sign into the meeting. Open your Zoom app and click or tap on Join a Meeting. Here you will enter your meeting ID, which can be found in your packet. Please do not share this ID with non-town meeting members, as they can watch a live stream rather than logging into the meeting. After entering your meeting ID, you will enter your name in the box below it. Entering your name in the correct format is extremely important. Town meeting members not entering their names correctly greatly extended the amount of time required for check-in during the last town meeting. When a name is not entered in the correct format, the clerk must manually change these names, adding unnecessary time to the check-in process. When entering your name, you must do so in the following format: your precinct number, followed by your last name, comma, first name. Therefore, if you are John Smith in Precinct 5, it should read P5 Smith John. If you have 2 people with the same last name using a shared device, enter your name as P5 Smith John and Jane. If you have 2 people with different names using only one device, enter your name as P5 Doe Jane and Smith John. Once you have entered your name, click Join. You will then be asked to enter the meeting passcode, which can be found in your packet. Click on Join Meeting after entering the passcode. Next, you'll be asked to enter an email address. If you do not have an email address, simply enter tm@tm.com. Then click on Join Webinar. When you sign in, a virtual teller will be going through all the members and checking people in. This will begin an hour and a half prior to the meeting. Please be patient, as it may take a while before the clerk reaches your name. Remember, the earlier everyone signs in, the sooner the meeting will start. When it is your turn to check in, your Zoom screen will disappear and reappear quickly. You will then receive a notification that says, "The host has asked you to start your video." Click on Start My Video. You'll then receive another notification that says, "The host would like to unmute you." Click on Unmute. The teller will ask for your precinct and name. If there's another town meeting member using your device, have them get in front of the screen and confirm their name and precinct as well. The teller will inform you that you're checked in. Your Zoom screen may again quickly disappear and then reappear. Your microphone and camera will be shut off, and you're all set to begin the meeting. If you have any technical issues that can't be resolved, please call the town's technical hotline at 774-473-9053. If you are not able to access Zoom, town meeting members can still call in to attend the meeting and vote using a normal telephone. Please note, you should make every effort possible to use Zoom to attend this meeting. Calling in should only be a last resort. When you call in, you will only have access to audio and may miss important information such as presentations or PowerPoints provided to town meeting members via Zoom. If attending the meeting by phone, you must first call the town clerk's office at 508-910-1800, and you must provide them with your name, your precinct number, and the phone number you'll be calling into the meeting with. This is extremely important as you will not be allowed to attend the meeting if you don't pre-register. This must be done at least 24 hours prior to town meeting, as well as 24 hours before any practice meetings you may want to attend. The deadline to register your phone number is Monday, October 26th. To call in, you must call via a long-distance phone number. The number is 646-876-9923. When you are prompted, enter the meeting ID provided to you in the packet, followed by the pound sign. You will be asked for a personal ID number. Just press the pound sign. Then, you'll be asked for the meeting password. Enter the password provided in your packet, followed by the pound sign. During the meeting, if you have a question or comment, press *9. You should hear that you have raised your hand. When the moderator calls on you, you will hear, "You have been unmuted." You can now ask your question or comment on an article. Be sure to state your name and precinct number before you begin discussion. Voting on an article will be done by raising your hand, which is done by pressing *9 on your phone. After polls are sent via Zoom, the moderator will instruct anyone voting by phone to vote in favor by raising your hand. She will then ask those who are opposed to the article to vote by raising your hand. Be sure to listen closely and follow the moderator's instructions. If you have any technical issues that can't be resolved, please call the town's technical hotline at 774-473-9053. Once town meeting begins, you will not see everyone attending the meeting as you would in a normal Zoom call. On your screen, you will only see the moderator and anyone pertinent to the article being presented. All voting on these articles will be done via Zoom poll. You are given 3 options to vote: yes, no, or abstain. Click on your answer and then click Submit. If you are sharing a device, one person should vote in the poll and one person should vote via raising their hand. The moderator will instruct the second users on a device to raise their hand if they are in favor of an article. Once those votes are counted, the moderator will ask the second users to raise their hand if they are opposed to the article. To raise your hand, simply click or tap on the menu and select Raise Hand. During discussion, if you have a question or want to make a comment, click on the menu and select Raised Hand. You will now be in the queue to speak. When it is your turn, you will see the host has asked you to unmute yourself. Click Unmute. Once the moderator says you are now ready to speak to town meeting. Please state your name and precinct as you would normally do. If you would like to make a point of order, click or touch the Q&A button and click Ask Question. Type in point of order and then send. The moderator will then call on you and ask you to unmute yourself. To make an amendment to an article, you must send a written amendment via email to tm@town.dartmouth.ma.us. In the subject line, please put the article number. Try and submit the amendment as soon as possible. When the article is up for discussion, raise your hand. You will now be in the queue to speak. Once the moderator calls on you, you will be asked to unmute yourself. State that you emailed an amendment and would like to move the amendment. You must then read the full amendment to the article.